there, welcome to this episode of Author Success Show. The special guest we have today is our client, Pastor Tina Booker. Tina is the author of the book, The Black Wildflower. Pastor Tina Booker is a distinguished figure with a diverse background in law enforcement, entrepreneurship, and pastoral leadership. With over 2 decades of dedicated service, she is committed to helping individuals unleash their unique gifts for remarkable success. Beyond her law enforcement career, Pastor Booker is an accomplished entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and ministry leader. Through Faith House Ministries and Radical for Kids, Inc., her nonprofit organizations focus on community outreach, providing valuable resources to underserved children and addressing the mass incarceration crisis in inner city areas. Recognized through numerous awards, citations, and acknowledgments, Tina extends her expertise to high impact empowerment coaching. Her Built to Build consulting program empowers women to unlock their full potential. Hello, Tina. Welcome to Author Success Show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure, Tina. It's been a few months since we published the book, right? So, how does it feel?
It's like an outer body experience. I am like elated. I have so many different emotions as now the book is finally complete. It's like some days I'm very emotional, some days I'm extremely happy, some days I'm like shocked. Oh, I really did this.
Yeah, it's sometimes pretty surreal, right? Because
Yeah,
the world looks at us very differently once we publish a book.
especially a memoir.
Yeah, because you're opening it up. You're just opening the curtains and allowing people to peep into your
Mhm.
life, and that takes a lot of courage.
Right.
So tell me, Tina,
Yeah.
how did this idea of writing a book come about? Were you always into books and you wanted to share your story, or did something inspire you suddenly?
The one thing about me is nothing was a always.
Mhm.
Everything is just vision that comes to me and feels right. So with the book, I had plans. It had been maybe a decade, and I kept saying, I want to write a memoir. I would like to share my story because so many people would ask me about specific parts of my life. And then I thought it would be therapeutic to share my story.
Mhm.
And I was like, I want to write my story. I just didn't know what I wanted to write, what I wanted to share,
Mhm.
and how would that look, on paper, how would that play out? Because I'm such a verbal communicator.
Right.
So yeah, no, I'm not an avid reader. That is not who I am. So I'm not in book clubs or anything like that. Like most people love reading different. I
Yeah.
love reading, but it has to be um something to grab my attention. Like I have short attention deficit.
Mhm.
It has to be engaging and interested because I'm a visual audio learner.
Mhm.
So most people who read and learn that way, that's not me. That's not me. So yeah, it's true that truly is was not the idea. That was truly not the plan.
Right. I'm so glad you busted this myth
Yeah,
that all the people who write read a lot
right.
of books themselves. That's not required at all, right? And through your community work, a lot of people already know bits and pieces of your life, and they were asking you to write a book, which itself is like a divine signal, right? That the world
Yes.
needs to know your story. But a
Yeah.
lot of people hesitate when it comes to writing a memoir. They're okay to give, the top 5 advices to people, but when it comes to taking it from your life experience and talking about that authentically, it really freaks out people. So how
Yeah.
did you decide that I'm going to share my story, and also which parts of your life, because you've lived a very rich life, so how did you decide that I'm going to talk about this and this and not about this and the other things?
Okay, so I have to give credit to my writing coach. I have to
Yeah.
give credit to Patricia Wooster. I have to give all credit to her
And I have to
because
give credit to her for connecting us.
right, she's wonderful.
Right.
I have to give credit to her because she is a author and she's a writer and she knows this business well.
Mm.
She was able to have one conversation with me to get us started, to give me the blueprint of what it looked like sharing my story on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So once she gave me the blueprint and we had a conversation, out of nowhere, I kind of knew what parts of my life I wanted to share in the first book. And I also knew that it would have to be a trilogy because people would never stop reading if I tried to condense my life in one book. And that writing journey was excruciating because me having to pick and choose with having such a, like, I'm 51 at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So picking and choosing what would be the first that I share in the trilogy, that was a little that process was the hardest because I didn't know what I wanted to share. But then it just started coming to me. What would a reader really want to know about me in order for me to inspire them? So the reason for me writing is I've always wanted to write. At first, I wanted to do a collaborative where I had women share their stories before I decided I just wanted to share my story.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do a collaborative effort with other women. So I want to say, right around the time Instagram started, I would post hashtag I got a story to tell, right? I got a story to tell. I got a story to tell. And I wanted to share stories of women like me from urban communities, pretty much underserved communities, women of color, whose stories very rarely get told publicly.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? A lot of women, like you said, wouldn't, feel as free to share. So because I mentor from that space and I have I've always been one to host gatherings to bring women together to empower them.
Right.
And I realized every time I got the room to warm up, it was because I shared my story first.
Right.
So I said, do the same thing in my writing journey. Share my story first, share to inspire.
Yeah.
So I wanted women to not feel so ashamed of the things they had been through, things that they had experienced, and be able to tell their story without shame and understand that we all go through things in life. And that's life, pretty much. That's how life happens. We're never going to go through life where there's not peaks and valleys. So I shared some of my deepest situations from my teenage years to around the age of 30, because I know that is such a pivotal age group for women.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted that to be my starting point.
Great. What I really like about what you just mentioned is that when a person lives more than 50 years on this planet, they have multiple books inside of them, right? And you cannot possibly put everything in one book. That would be too overwhelming for the writer or the author, that is you, as well as the reader. So it's such a smart decision of you and Patricia to actually create a trilogy out of this
Yes.
whole life journey, and actually pick those teenagers up to age 30 to share the key lessons.
Right.
The other
And
thing
I
that
knew what I wanted to write about. I knew what all three would entail.
Yeah. And also set an example for other women to later share, because when you share, you create that safe space and people now have the courage to open their hearts and share. Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because women are always so silent and silenced.
True.
So I feel it's important to give every woman a voice.
Very true. Also, Tina, in your book, you didn't treat it like a pure memoir, because what memoirs usually do is they just share their story as a story. But
Yes.
here, you also give powerful takeaways at the end of every chapter so that people are not just admiring your journey, but they're also reflecting and seeing what can they do about their lives through this story. So,
Right.
what do you think about that decision?
Okay, the takeaways. When I was working with Patricia, I thought it was extremely important for me to give a takeaway in each chapter. That was the goal from the beginning. I felt that everybody has a story to tell, right? We all have very unique stories. We've all had situations, and my trauma may not be your trauma, but you still had trauma, right? My joy may not be your joy, but we still share joy. So I thought it was very important in sharing my story to share the lessons that I learned along the way, because I always want people to know that there is light at the end of the tunnel and to have hope. So I'm a person that's big on hope and faith because, you know, I'm really deep with my faith. I'm
Mm.
Christian based, and it's extremely important for me to always speak of hope. And I wanted people to know that this journey, I didn't do it alone. My faith is what brought me through the journey. So even when I was going and stuff, before I knew what faith I wanted to, what I wanted to serve, what I wanted to believe in, I still went through things. And it was important for me to share takeaways so people will also reflect on their lives and say, you know what, I learned my lesson in this. And I
Mm.
also wanted people to resonate with somewhere in the book, in the memoir, they may have seen themselves and maybe now going back to reflect, well, you know what I learned out of that, opposed to beating themselves up and being ashamed of what they've been through. So I thought that was extremely important for me to share because it's like,
Mm.
it's pride. I want to be always humble. I don't want to
Yeah.
be so prideful about my life. Oh, I made it 50 years old. Or,
Mm.
and then you know, it's just like bragging at this point.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to write from that place because I never want to feel like I'm bigger than anyone else
Mm.
or that I did something so special that I made it here. I know that everyone can be me or better than me. So I really thought it was important to leave takeaways to share what I learned in those experiences without glorifying them.
Yeah, sure. And that comes across very clearly because it makes us feel that it's not, the book is not about you, but it's about the reader. So,
Yes.
that's really smart. Also, what I've noticed, a lot of books typically these days have about 8 to 12 chapters. That's like the industry standard, right? But your book has these bite-sized chapters and there are
Mhm.
30 of them, right? So was that a tough decision to make, or you were very conscious that your chapters need to be small and you're going to have many more chapters than the usual ones?
Yes. Well, I'll tell you this. In the writing process, being that I'm a new author, remember, I don't know the structure of writing, right? So I'm just writing so
Mm.
much stuff I had, so much. And then with your extremely amazing team, when you guys came in, it just put like the whipped cream on the ice cream, the whipped cream on the apple pie. It just made everything taste so much better. I knew I had a lot to write, and then I learned how to structure and scale back and add in what's important. So I felt sometimes people get a little bored when chapters are too long. So I looked at myself as someone who only reads when I'm interested in. And I'm like, I've strategically thought about the average reader, like how long we going to go down this rabbit hole in this chapter, right?
Hmm.
People, you know, people read memoirs because they want to know about someone. So they want to get to the next thing. Like,
Ab-
okay, how is this going to close? So
hmm.
I thought about myself, someone with short attention span, and I'm like, get through this chapter so they want to turn the page. So
Hmm.
strategically, I'm like, I don't want long chapters. I'd rather have many chapters and then they go from page to page. And then some people read and they feel accomplished because some people are not avid readers. So they like, I read 30 chapters. And
Absolutely.
so both things played a part in my decision to expand and let the chapter speak. I knew I wanted to stop around 30, 31 max.
Right. So
Mhm.
I think that worked out really well for this book because usually memoirs are more than 80,000 words long. That's the typical thing that we see. And I'm really
Mm,
glad that you didn't care about what the standards were because you didn't know what they were. And you just
right.
went with
Yeah.
your gut feel.
Hmm.
Right. And I'm
Hmm.
quite intrigued by the name of your book. So did you decide that the title is going to be The Black Wildflower right at the beginning, or did it happen somewhere?
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I had the name when I met Patricia.
Okay. Right.
When we started to work together, I knew I was inspired. My mom, um, I don't know, you may ask that question, but my mom, okay, music, right? Music, I've always been a music lover. And there was a song that my mom always listened to when we were younger. It was called Wildflower.
Mhm.
One of her favorite groups, a group called New Birth, and they were like a soul group back in the 70s, I want to say. And the song resonated to how I feel. So I took the song was called Wildflower, but when I heard the song, it just gave me a different appeal to it. And I wanted to name it The Black Wildflower. And to be honest with you, I had two names. First, I was going to name it The Brooklyn Black Wildflower because I'm writing from being from Brooklyn, New York,
Yep.
and I wanted to take people on that experience.
Mm.
So I decided to make it The Black Wildflower for many reasons. First of all, I'm an African-American woman.
Mhm.
I'm of darker skin tone. So I really wanted to highlight that. And then because of the space I'm writing from, there was a wild time in my life, which was pretty wild. But I also want to share that I'm still a flower like most women, and we're delicate. And we need to be treated as delicate women. And we want to be watered. We want to be watered so we can grow. We want to be watered with love, with peace, with proper intimacy. So that's what made me name the book The Black Wildflower.
Amazing. I'm feeling so happy to hear the story, Tina, because it comes from your personal life experience, your childhood memories with your mom. Unlike what most authors do these days, they go to Amazon, look for the hot keywords, and pick a couple of words that are in trend and just put them together and create a title. 90%
Yeah.
of the people do that. But I'm so happy
Yeah.
that there are also authors like you who do it from their heart and not just do
Yeah.
it from their mind. I mean, it's important to
Yes.
have strategies and stuff, which is
Yes.
great. I'm not against that, but some certain things should come from the heart, and I'm so glad that your title
Exactly.
did. Talking about the
Thank you.
music, your music references throughout the book, and I have not seen this in any other book I've read so far.
Wow.
At the beginning of every chapter, people put a famous quote, but instead you put the name of a song and the artist. So how did that happen?
Okay. I love music. I've been dancing since I was walking. And I wanted to resonate to other music lovers and people that love to dance.
Right.
I want Black Wildflower is a journey, but it's also an experience. So I wanted to take people on a journey where they felt every moment of the book, the writing. I wanted it all to come together. So I wanted people to know, like, I love music. While the introduction speaks of we all have our own tempo.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, if I'm sharing these intimate moments and I love music, and music was pretty much like my religion, it was like my Bible. Like most people, music brings people together. Music helps us deal with our emotions. Music, when we want a good cry, we listen to our favorite song to break through the emotion, and as a woman. And so I'm like, you know what? I want to add, at first, my strategy was to have multiple songs for each chapter. And I was like, that's too much. Because I always think big and then I scale back.
Right.
So I was like, I want to make sure that I add a song to each chapter to fill that moment. What I was thinking at that age, what music was going on at that age, or what song was speaking to my heart at that time. So I'm like, I want to take them on a journey. I want them to go to YouTube, Spotify, or whatever they listen their music to, and hear these songs from like 70s, 80s, 90s.
While they're reading the chapter.
While they're reading. So I'm like, no, hit the song and get in the moment.
Yeah.
Make it a moment. Make it an experience.
This is
That's
such a cool idea, to set the right mood for every chapter. It's creating like a multimedia experience for the reader.
Right, exactly. And I feel like that's the trailblazer in me.
Yeah.
That people like, wait a minute, you have a what? You have a what? Wait, how are you doing this? And I'm like, I just feel like God gives me strategy with things. And I've always been that, like, marketing comes to me like that. I think of ways where I want to draw people in to have an experience. It's not about just getting money and somebody buying your book. I want to give people the time of their life, whatever I do.
Absolutely. So since you're a first-time author, before writing this book, I don't think every day you had a writing ritual or practice, but for this book, did you create any, like, how were the words flowing through you? Did you have a certain ritual, or did you have a certain practice that you would like to share with other first-time authors?
Yes, I would, because I think that everybody knows themselves. So you should definitely have some type of ritual set to how you're going to write. For me, I would two ways. First of all, I would travel. My mom lives in the South and South Carolina in the States. So sometimes I would take a trip to my mom's house to get the Southern serenity, just to take a break from the big city here in New York. But everywhere I went, anytime I was in my writing space, I had my music and I had my computer where everything, like the songs were perfect because I was thinking about the music inspired me through in my entire writing space. So I would take myself back to that period of music. And people think that it was easy. It wasn't, because when you're putting your best foot forward, you have to go full out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be a lot, but you have to go full out. For me, it was important for me to know what I wanted specifically in this book. So what I did was I would go on YouTube, I would go on Google, and I would be at what was the top Billboard songs, because like at this age, I don't remember every single song that there were specific songs. I would go and listen to songs over and over and say, this is the, I've changed songs. I've moved songs from specific chapters because I'm like, this doesn't, no, this song needs to go here. That's how specific I was about how I wanted everything to flow. So I would listen to, it would be like 3 songs and I'm like, okay, you have to choose one. Mm-hmm. I would listen to the songs over and over and over and I go, okay, this is this one. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I'm like, that song would be better for this chapter. So even with that, everything, even with naming the chapters, everything was a feeling.
Right.
Everything was a feeling out of the emotion I was sharing in the chapter.
Sure. And while writing, did you specifically follow the chronological order, or did you write based on what you felt connected to on that particular day?
I wrote chronologically. Mm-hmm. I thought it was important to write that way with a memoir. I don't like to be all over the place. Right. I don't want you to be 20 in the first and 15 in the middle and 25 and no. I wanted to, like I said, I want to take my readers on a journey. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was very important for me to start from here and share how I ended up here. Yeah. How did I end up there? Why this was so pivotal in my life. How this happens with aging and understanding. When you're a child, you're a child. You think like a child, right? And when you're an adult, things start to shift. Your mind you start getting more wiser, more knowledge. And so I wanted to write chronologically. And I think that's the best way to write like memoirs.
Right. Because the chapters are anyway laid out chronologically. So it makes sense to do chapter 2 and 3 rather than jump to chapter 10 in between.
Exactly. And I thought that was so important because I wanted people, because I wrote backwards from starting at the age of 13, right? And because it's a trilogy, it was important for me to ensure that they understood every area of where I was going in that moment.
So Tina, since you are talking about a lot of personal things which happened decades ago, how tough was it for you to revisit those things and write it?
So for me, I felt that it was very important to be in therapy while I was writing, because it's a memoir and every situation wasn't the best situation. So I believe that if you're going to write a memoir, you should always have a cushion, a safe space, or someone that you can confide in. If you go back to writing and something triggers you, you want to make sure that you're able to recover and understand that you're not in that space anymore. You're writing the experience. So some people can get caught there and it can take them back. I think it's very important for you to have spiritual counsel, therapy, or someone that you'll be able to release whatever emotion was triggered in the midst of writing. I think that was very important for me and it helped me tremendously.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, because while it's important to share your story with others to help them, it's also equally important to protect yourself first.
You have to protect yourself. Extremely important. So I protected myself that way. And I think it was wonderful for me to do that. And it helped a lot with writing.
Sure. Got it.
and,
Yeah.
and going on that journey with me. I wanted people to feel like they were my age for each chapter.
Sure. So when I was inviting you for this show, Tina, I had asked a question in the form saying what would be your one message to the first-time authors, and you said that writing is actually not the end of it. There are much more challenging things coming up after the writing. So how is it after you finish writing? Like, what were the next steps you took, and which did you feel was the toughest?
I felt getting the book to market.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of writers don't, some people are just avid writers, so they continue to just write books and put them out. And I shared this with someone. There are people that have 14 books and have 14 sales, one sale per book. And they just continue on a hope and a wish to keep writing these books,
Yeah.
upload them on Amazon, and then hopefully something will happen. And me being a person, not only, I'm a creative and I do so many other things and like understanding marketing, I'm like, that can't be my story. I don't put this much time. It took me 3 years to finish this book. Life happened, pandemic, this, that, so many things happened. And I'm like, why is it taking so long? But I
Mm-hmm.
understood that I had to complete it because that's how I work. I felt as if that was the hardest part for me because one, you don't want to put out something and no one reads it or no one knows that it's there. So just understanding that concept and learning how to do a lot of these things myself
Mm-hmm.
because I like to learn things. I feel
Yeah.
like you're never too old to learn how to do these things. But I find that the system is not really supportive of independent authors.
Mm.
And I'm always a person like I want to evoke change everywhere I go. I feel like God has given me time to help people be able to be their true selves. And if you put something out there and no one knows you're there, or people who can't afford it, I come
Mm-hmm.
from a community that has been underserved. And I know that people can't go the route I went to write a book, right? Some people can't afford it.
Yeah.
And people have wonderful stories they could share. And I understand that we come against a machine with people who automatically go to bestseller because they're signed by the top publishers. What does that look like for someone whose book should be a bestseller or
Mm.
someone whose book should be heard over the masses and they get opportunities to have speaking engagements? So I put myself in everybody's shoes.
Right.
And I felt like that was the most grueling thing because I didn't want to just have my book uploaded and go with the flow and that just be it. I wanted
Mm.
to learn a way for authors to be rewarded for their hard work and
Mm.
how could that be done. So that's why it was the hardest part because I just didn't say, okay, my book is done, let them upload it and that's it. I went through every step with how to upload, how to get it out there, how to get people to talk, everything, finding the right editor, knowing who you all were. It's not easy and you have to do your homework to get the best product. And I feel like I'm glad I went the route I went, found the best editors. We're in 2 different countries,
Yeah.
but it was so important to show someone else when you want something done well, you have to go the extra mile. And that was the hardest part for me. The writing was easy because it's my story.
Right, absolutely. How was the experience of working with us in terms of the editing and the formatting, basically converting that manuscript into a book form?
I will say this, and I've said it time and time again. You guys have a whole page in the back of the book, hands down. And though this is my first experience, I think if my first experience wasn't a good experience, I wouldn't be inspired to continue to write. I You have to give flowers where they're due. And I want to say the team at Happy Self Publishing has been nothing less than amazing, personally and professionally. I've never felt so comfortable in a space of the unknown than I have been with Happy Self Publishing. And I have to say that I would not have been able to get through this process without you all. I would not be able to get through this process. You made it so easy for me to understand writing and even the editing process, that I am ever grateful, ever grateful. The level of professionalism is unmatched. And I want people to know, I didn't just pick you guys, I did my homework. I had many consultations with different in the States. Yes, I had many consultations with other publishing companies in the States, overseas, and didn't match up. It just didn't feel right. And my first meeting with Happy Self Publishing, got the information, did my research as you should do. And I was like, no, this feels right. These women are amazing. And I made the perfect choice.
Thank you so much, Tina, for your kind words. And it's authors like you who inspire us to do what we do. And recently, in one of our team meetings, we were sharing your story. You were just talking about, right, that you're never too old to learn something,
Yeah,
and you
never
are
too
such,
late to be great.
yeah, and you're such a perfect example of that, because recently
Thank
we
you.
saw that you've gone back to college to continue your degree. And I mean, how did you make that decision? I'm sure you're the only grandma in the entire campus.
Okay, so funny you asked that question. Tomorrow, so this is what I did. I knew I wanted to go back to pursue my degree. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I made a conscious decision when I visited my old college that my nephew actually graduated from, and my future niece-in-law. She's an attorney now, and he has his master's in public administration. And he did a speech, and he mentioned me in it, that I was his inspiration to go to the school. I started speaking to staff, and they were like, you can go hybrid. And I've always wanted to go back. I hate to leave something and not complete it.
Mhm.
And I know that's the one nemesis I have, my regrets for not finishing school. And that day I was just like, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my degree. And I didn't know when. So I finally said, okay, I'm going to go September 2024. I want to start fresh. I knew the book was going to be released. So I didn't want to put, like I said, I am a mother, I am a grandmother, I am a wife, I'm, all those things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't because I'm impulsive. So I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing anything impulsive. So I had planned to be in school for September 2024, which is coming this year. But tomorrow is my first college course that I'm taking for the next 5 weeks for grant writing.
Wow. This is so
Yeah.
amazing.
And
And
so I'll be with some kids in the university tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock to 4. It's an intense course, but I'm
yeah,
willing to challenge myself to help
sure.
communities. Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you will, come out with flying colors, and we are all looking forward to your graduation very soon.
I'm hoping so. I know that I can do anything that I put my mind to. We all can. So
Yeah,
this is pretty much just like another stepping stool for me to and when they read the book, they'll understand why I'm so eager and passionate about wanting to go back to school.
right. And one final question, Tina. So you are a pastor, you do so many amazing things, you play so many different roles in life. You wrote this book to inspire people who are going through a lot of adversities. But other
Mm-hmm.
than benefiting your readers, how has the book impacted your life and given you other opportunities in different walks of life?
For starters, I'm getting invited to podcasts.
Sure.
So it has truly impacted me because so many women who bought the book, and I did a pre-sale, pre-release, and I couldn't believe that so many people wanted this book before it even hit the shelves.
Mhm.
And to get the feedback, I was amazed by how so many women were calling me, inboxing me, DMing me saying what an amazing book and how they saw themselves in the book. And
Mhm.
it impacted me in a way that I know that what my life's purpose is truly my life's purpose. And I
Mhm.
want to go all over the world to speak to women and motivate them. And it helps with my coaching as a high impact empowerment coach, right? I created a title for myself because I'm like, I don't want to be a cliche coach.
Yeah.
Everybody's coaching from some people are not even old enough to coach, but they're coach, not even enough life experiences. So I always deem myself a high impact empowerment coach because I want to come with the energy. I want to be able to impact people, and especially women. And I'm called to women to inspire them, to speak into them. Women in corporations. I am a retired law enforcement officer. So I understand what it's like for women to go into blue collar work. I worked in administration. So my experiences in writing this book is bringing it full circle. And the goal for this book is to eventually be on somebody's screen. And that's the impact, because people are reading the book and like, okay, is there going to be a film? Is there going to be a series? And I've already had men who read the book that's in production that's looking to turn this into a series, the book.
Wow, that's simply amazing. So, do you have
Yeah.
plans for the second book in the series coming up soon, anytime?
Yes, I figure I think I'm gonna start. I already started doing a layout, and so I'll give you the inside scoop. Marriage in Moments is the next book. That's the title of the next book. Marriage in Moments. And I'm going to do something different as always. I'm writing this with my husband.
That's cool. Amazing.
Yes.
I'm sure he's super inspired by your book, which is why he would have agreed to be a part of the second project.
Yes. Because he's going to write a book. He's going to write a book because he had such an interesting story and he was inspired. But since the second book is Marriage in Moments, I said, why not I give him writing prompts and we do this together, because I'm not in the marriage alone. So I may have saw this situation one way and he may have felt another way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to take my readers on a journey. We started with just me, and next is me and him.
So cool.
And in the third book, Restoration and Redemption, it'll be me, him, and my daughter.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that inside scoop with us, Tina. So where
You
can
heard it
all
first.
yeah, thanks. We are indeed privileged to know that. So where can people find out more about you or follow your work?
Oh, follow me on Instagram. I am Tina Booker _official on Instagram, Pastor Tina Booker on Facebook. I am Black Wildflower on TikTok. And I am also Tina Booker _official on Thread. So I'm everywhere, and I'm on YouTube. I have my YouTube page as well, Pastor Tina B. So I'm on all platforms, and I'm always live streaming. So feel free to follow me. I would love to love on you.
Absolutely. We're going to give all the links down in the show notes, and all the listeners, viewers, you must follow Tina for loads of inspiration. Thank you so much, Tina,
Thank
for
you.
coming on Author Success Show.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are amazing.